Any content provided by our bloggers or authors are of their opinion and are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, municipality, individual, or anyone or anything.
He's a surgeon. He's a 100-ton boat captain. He's a lieutenant on Seaside Heights Beach Patrol in New Jersey. He's a member of the Coast Guard Auxiliary. He's Dr. Michael Kachmar. Need answers to your medical questions? We have them. Listen in to hear latest on medical topics related to all that and more.
Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Michael Kachmar, and this is Scrubbing Up with Dr. Michael Kachmar. Today's date is October the 18th, the year of our Lord, 2022.
That's right.
This is a medical political show. I'm Dr. Michael Kachmar. I'm a board-certified reconstructive foot and ankle surgeon. I'm on staff at multiple hospitals, Jersey Shore Medical Center, Community Medical Center, Southern Ocean County Hospital, JFK. Well, no more JFK. It's called Thomas Jefferson now, and Monmouth South.
Is it really called
Yeah,
Thomas Jefferson?
yeah.
Wow.
JFK is Monmouth Jefferson. Yeah, down it's Thomas Jefferson. We have Jeremy today. Hello, Jeremy.
Hey, everybody.
It's
How
nice
you
to
doing?
see you. And
Yeah.
how's everything doing?
Just doing good.
Good,
Yeah,
good.
doing
Good. So,
Good.
Jeremy, just want to tell you, you keep that out for a while. Keep the arrow out of the thing, so we don't have to see it just like that. Beautiful. So anyway, we're here today, Jeremy. We have a bunch of topics that we want to talk about, but we want to throw up on our screen there our email address, which is drkachmar, and it's you might have to go on to the other one, Jeremy. Lifeguards off duty. It might be underneath there. Yeah. So we have Michael Kachmar. It's Dr. Kachmar. And so that's drkachmar at iCloud.com. And can you put that back there, Jeremy? Let it stay there for a while. And I want people, if you guys want to get a hold of us, talk to us, you could go on to that's our email address. So Jeremy's going to put the email address up again now.
Hold on a second. Everything was messed with. So there we go.
Yeah, so just get rid of the scrubbing up there, Jeremy, for a minute. So, and there it is. So anybody, it is for people on Spotify, and they can't see, but it's drkachmar at iCloud.com. And send us an email and let us know what you want us to talk about. We could certainly do that. You could certainly come on to the show, and we love to have that. So what are we talking about today, Jeremy? We got a lot of things going on. Jeremy doesn't know what
I'm in the dark today. Yeah,
right.
I'm
So let's go.
dark.
So let's go to the whiteboard. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at case of the week. And we have a really good case of the week, and we got
to get into these.
So this is let me start the premise. So this is a woman, and this is if any doctors are listening. We see a lot of foreign bodies. So this was a woman who got a piece of glass in her foot, and it was a foreign body, and it happened in a jacuzzi. So. And then she didn't realize it. She went to bed. The next morning, there was blood all over the place in her bed.
Wait a minute.
They were drinking. There was alcohol involved.
So she's got alcohol and she's in a hot tub. That's why she didn't
detect
that ginormous piece of glass that went into her foot.
So let's let's talk about the case. What we said. So I get a phone call from the ER. I'm on call, and they said, Dr. Kachmar, we have a patient that it looks like it has a animal claw in their foot, an animal claw. So let's go to the videotape, as they usst to say. Yeah. So go to my iPad. So here it is right here, Jeremy, which is pretty interesting. So for people who want to, hang on a second, let me go here. So we're going to check this out now. Let's use red, huh? We like red. So here is the you can see the what do you call it? The piece of glass. It's right here, and you can see it. Can people see?
I mean, that went all the way in. Like all the way in. It's amazing to me how she never detected that. I mean, even getting out of the pool or out of the hot tub.
Right.
And starting to walk upstairs or wherever your bedroom is. Holy moly's.
Pretty wild, huh?
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? So there it is right there. That's kind of thick. Here, let me key that down a little bit. We need a little bit. So let me go this way here. So here it is right there. You can see that claw, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I looked at, and and there's two pieces there, and I'm saying, you know what? There's look at that thing right there.
Yeah, two pieces.
And that's it's almost to the bone, right? So it's 2 pieces. Now, this was all night long, and it was in a jacuzzi. So you gotta. So let's get out of here. Discharge changes. So let's look at the next one. Here's just another shot of it.
Angle of it, right?
Right. So look at this here, and just to give people the idea where it's at, you can
what
you can
shot
see
is
it.
this? What
This is just another view.
Is this an overhead or?
Yeah, it's coming from the side. So you can see, I'm going to do the outline. You can see the outline of the piece of glass. See it?
Yeah.
That's the whole piece right there.
And then there's that second sliver.
Right, and then there's a little sliver here.
Right there, yeah.
So isn't that amazing?
Oh my God.
And this is.
I think it's amazing. The size is absolutely insane, but it's also amazing how she didn't detect this until the next morning. Like she was well drunk.
Right. So
well drunk.
So here's what it looks like after it was taken out.
Oh my God.
And you can see the ruler here. So this is inches and centimeters. So it's basically 2 inches long, at least an inch wide.
Yeah.
And it's pretty wild. Now, this is just the other piece. There it is there. You can take a look at it.
That's a good one with the tweezers there, right?
See that? See that? And so here's a small piece there. Now, what you do with these, Jeremy, you have to be very careful. Can you put me in a small box so that people can see? It's just no.
Gotcha.
Yeah, right there. Just hit that. You had to hit the plus. Yeah, just hit the plus, and there we go. So what happens here is this: is when you have something like this, right? I'll get to that in a minute. Hang on. So what you cannot. Now here's the thing. This was so people, doctors, and people who are learning in ER. You never want to close these things up. Yeah. Not most of the time you want to leave the wound open or pack it open, because here's what happened. Think about it. She was in a jacuzzi. There's all kinds of bacteria. This implanted in there. So I got her, when I finally was able to take the piece of glass out, it was next day. I had to put her in an OR. I admitted her to the hospital. And the time I got it, I didn't want to do it in the ER. But when I got her, even when she went to the ER around 12 o'clock in the afternoon, it was in her foot 12 hours already.
Right.
So that means it's contaminated. You could say clean contaminated. She didn't step on horse manure and have the glass go in.
Right.
It was in a jacuzzi, but there's bacteria. So what you need to do is you need to take the foreign body out. Then make sure that you look at the wound and make sure there's no damage to the tendons or to the arteries.
Right.
You may have to repair all of that.
Because it may not just be a matter of pulling it out in some way.
Right.
Yeah.
It could have ruptured vital structures.
You have to then go back in and see what's wrong and what
Right.
What
We did all of
damage
that,
it did.
and she was lucky. My initial exam, there was nothing. There was no tendon torn. There was no blood vessel disruption. Mm-hmm. But we did is what we do is we irrigate it. And that means we flush it out with special apparatus, and then we pack it. We take this
like water, right?
It's on a machine. It's called a pulse lavage.
Yeah.
And it shoots it in there. It's like a power washer, but not as strong, and obviously more medically directed to medically. So to clean the wound out.
I've seen it used in person. Yeah.
The other thing is that we pack it, and what we put in there is what's called iodoform new gauze. So this is actually it's called iodoform new gauze. New gauze is just a trade name, so it's basically gauze packing. Gotcha. And we closed the wound up, but just lightly reapproximated. So let's take a look what it looks like here. So I'm going to show you.
Wait, before you go, go back. See that one right there?
Small one.
I want blow up on the finger in comparison to that big piece right there. That just shows you just how huge that sliver of glass was.
Yeah.
Compared to that finger. Wow.
Yeah. So here's a picture of after we, so this is packing in there.
And that's the gauze you were talking about.
Right. Now there's some blood in there. And you can see we just put a couple retention sutures there so it's not gapping wide open. And she's admitted. And with these people, you want to keep them, you're going to keep them on antibiotics in the hospital for, at least 48 hours. Yeah. That was our protocol. And, let me just show you what we're doing here. So you could look here. There's some sutures there.
Sure.
They're right there. And this is the packing right here, this material here. And that's packing. And that what that is iodoform new gauze. Now it's all inside the wound. And what that does is a couple things. It acts as a tamponade. And what that means is when you put it in there, right? It'll pick up the space that would ordinarily be an empty space in there, and it would stop the bleeding because it's pressure. It's a big wad of gauze in there.
The gauze is putting pressure on the bleed, and then it
Right.
shuts it down.
Right,
Yeah,
right. They
okay.
call it tamponade,
Okay.
and sort of like when people get like a heart injury, the heart will bleed and it'll fill up the cavity and it'll stop its own self from bleeding. It's called a tamponade. The other thing here is that
I wonder, did the origin of that word tamponade, does that have anything to do with tampon? Like the wording? 'Cause
I don't know.
It does stop bleeding and all
yeah,
that.
Yeah. Might
I'm
be.
just curious about
It might.
that.
Yeah. You know what?
Yeah.
It probably did. You know
like-
what? We
I
have to look
like-
it up.
Yeah, I like etymology.
That
so-
might have been Dr. Tamponade.
Dr.
Invented it.
Tamponade invented it. Yeah. Yeah.
So, let me go this way here. So this is now what I did with her is she is admitted she's on a medication called Zosyn, which is a very powerful IV antibiotic, and then she.
Can you blow that up bigger?
Yeah, we do this
yeah.
now. That was taken out. And it's still open, that wound, and we take this out in 48 hours at the bedside. I give her like 4 milligrams of morphine. That packing all comes out. I put a big plunger, flush it out again. That whole inside is all flushed out again. Flush it out, and then repack it again.
And then resuture?
No. The sutures are very loose. You could put your finger right between them. That's all.
Okay.
So it's not like they're suture tight. And if there's an infection or something, you could pop them right out. It's
Gotcha.
better than having the thing wide open. You'll never heal it. But so we're giving the ability for it to drain.
So the next time you go in, you pull out the gauze and then you just suture, or you add more gauze?
No. We add more gauze. So you do that. You do that several times, and then once you feel confident, then you just pull it out and leave it. Don't do it again.
Yeah.
So you
But
can
you
see
want
here.
you want to make sure that bleeding has stopped.
It's not bleeding, but it's also you don't want to have an infection.
An infection.
Because here's the thing: when you close a wound or you reapproximate it, or you have anaerobes in there, you have bacteria that love to grow in that area. So really, we didn't close the wound. We just that's just holding the packing in there. Those sutures, they're very on the top. When we do suture, close a wound, we do layers. We do deep, then superficial, and then skin. None of that was done here. This is just a couple to close the wound to hold the packing in.
Now, what kind of instructions are you giving the patient?
Well, she's in the hospital. She ain't going anywhere.
Oh, she's not going anywhere.
She's
Okay.
here for 2 days, maybe 3 days, maybe. And what happened is after this, because she couldn't walk on this, we sent her upstairs to a rehab. So we converted her to oral medication, and then she was in a assisted living rehab because she couldn't walk on it. So she didn't feel comfortable that way. And this is a little blurry here. So here's another picture of it, and here it is. So this is now the gauze is looking. I just did dressing changes. You see how nice that looks.
Yeah.
And the foot looks real good. So the toes are. Let me just show here. So just to give you a perspective on this, So the toes are this way.
Yeah.
The ankle is up this way.
Yeah.
And you see that? And, now you can see the sutures there, but all they're doing is just holding the wound together. Now, you can stick your finger right in there, right in here.
Yeah.
Because the gauze comes out, and you put fluid in there, irrigate it. It's all sterile. When we do that, we do all sterile dressings.
Yeah.
So, I thought that was a pretty good one. And these are just some pictures here. I don't know, So anyway, you could get rid of that. Go back to
we'll
our
go back
just
to
screen. Just go to me. So that's the case of the week. A couple things, lessons to be learned here for people out there. If you get a dirty wound or any kind of laceration with a foreign body, and it takes hours to get it taken out, you never want the wound closed. And I just had one where they went to an urgent care center, they closed the wound, and the person blew up. They had like the man-eating, really bad bacteria. It turned into a horror show. And I don't know why they closed it. They shouldn't have done that.
Right.
I guess they were trying to do the patient a good deal. You got to be careful with dog bites too. If they're real superficial, you could irrigate them out and you could close them. You eventually want to close them. Sometimes you're better off irrigating the wounds, packing them. Maybe close them a little bit with 1 or 2 retention stitches.
Little extra precautions.
Put them on IV antibiotic. There's protocols. You need to be on antibiotics,
Right.
heavy duty IV antibiotics. And then what you do is you do wound care. So you irrigate it, you put the gauze in there. It might take 2-3 days. Some people want to get these people out. I think 48 hours is a good thing. We may go now. She went on, and we do cultures too. So at the time of the removing the glass, we did cultures. We actually put a Q-tip in there and see what organism grows out. Now in her, nothing grew out. That was good. But that, if something grew out, we would cover it, and we might go longer with the IV antibiotics. In her, we went with oral after, I think, a couple days, and then kept her on. Some of these people, you put them on a blood thinner because, they can't walk. Mm-hmm. But the big thing is, when you get a foreign body, a bullet, glass, whatever, a knife, you have to make sure you evaluate the wound for collateral damage. Right. Did it cut a tendon? Did it cut an artery? Something like that. And then if that's the case, you gotta address it and repair it. Yeah. Then the next thing is you want to irrigate it, get a lot of, really wash it out. Irrigation is very, very important. The more you wash it, the more you irrigate it. It's clean. It's just cleaning it. That will save. I see a lot of doctors, they're lazy. First thing I did with the ER doc is I said, go there and irrigate the crap out of it. I want 2-3 liters of fluid.
Right.
You got to be careful though if they're bleeding a lot, but that is going to save them. Could save their limb, could save their life.
Right.
Because this is where they talk about septicemia, where people die. You close a wound, think everything's fine, and then next thing you know, these people get septic. What it means that the bacteria is in the blood, or their heart rate's going high, the blood pressure goes down, and they die. And you always hear about these stories. Flesh-eating wound. You hear about that, right? Yeah. So you don't want to have that. So anyway, so that's that. So let me just finish my train of thought. Irrigate it, packing, antibiotics. We don't like closing those wounds, and the bad ones that you got to cover. Like here now, I just read an article in Florida, right? Because of the hurricane, there's I think it was 65 cases. I don't know if of bad infections, and it's called Vibrio. It's an infection that you get from water, like a fishbowl tank or stuff like that.
Okay.
So you got to really, if you step on a piece of glass in the ocean or the bay, I'm gonna treat it maybe differently with a different antibiotic than if you stepped in horse manure,
right,
with a piece of glass or a knife or whatever. You have to really, whoever the doctor is, you really got to think about what the history. What kind of potential organism and how long the wound's been open. Now, if you got somebody who steps on a piece of glass and you pull it out real quick, and they say they get to the ER within an hour, they live real close, and you could pull it out and irrigate it. Yeah, you maybe could send them home on oral antibiotics if it was clean glass. This was in a jacuzzi. The woman was intoxicated. She went to bed. She didn't realize that she even had a piece of glass until the next morning. And so now that thing was just sitting there, and the bacteria were having a party. Right. She had a party the night before. The bacteria now
there had to have been some blood.
Yeah, there's blood, but there's bacteria. Understand? In a jacuzzi. No, I
mean for her to.
She was drunk. They don't know.
I know.
She did. There was blood on the floor. They don't know. I mean, until the morning time. Sometimes it doesn't hurt as much. Listen, people get intoxicated. I've seen all kinds of things. I've seen drop foot for people. They get so drunk they fall asleep. And they fall asleep on their leg, and in the outside of their knee is a nerve that's very prominent, and that nerve gets ischemic. It gets pushed on, and then it hurts the nerve, and it could take months and months and months for that nerve to come back.
Oh, Jesus.
They can't even lift their foot up.
Wow.
So and that it happens. So these are the things that you have to be careful for.
So how many? Now you're for those of you out there that don't know, Dr. Kachmar has been a lieutenant at the Seaside Heights Beach Patrol for years and years. He's been working down there, decades. So what other? I mean, how often are you seeing injuries for people coming out of the water?
Nah, we don't see much. We don't see. We don't allow glass on the beach. I don't think I've seen I can't remember the last time we had a laceration, right?
Laceration.
Yeah, you get them once in a while on a clamshell. We don't see much of that. Also, there was one fishing hook, but we don't allow fishing. This is why. Right. Other beaches that allow fishing, they got people with fish hooks all the time in their face, in their hand, in their leg. They're swimming around. Jesus. No, we're pretty good with that. So anyway,
that's great to know.
Yeah. So let's go to the next thing. Don't put the iPad on yet. So the next thing I want to talk about is this thing about fetal personhood.
Okay.
Okay, now this is dovetailed into abortion. We've been talking about abortion. It's a hot topic now. A lot of people, a lot of people on the left, the Democrats, believe that this is going to be, a issue for people voting. Other people think it's the economy. I'm not going to get into the politics of abortion. We talked about it. If you want to know, you could archive our opinion, right, Jeremy? And how we feel about it. But there was an interesting case that went to the Supreme Court. Let me just pull this up. Yeah, so can you do this, Jeremy? So this whole thing about abortion, in my opinion, and when we talk about it, is the whole thing about abortion is this. Is the fetus a human being, and when is a human being? Okay.
Yeah.
And that's an argument, because we have the 14th Amendment. We have, you have the right for life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. And actually, the 14th Amendment is life, liberty, and the pursuit of property. So if that fetus is considered a person at any time during that pregnancy,
right,
then you got to accord them all the rights of a citizen.
Yeah.
And you can't. And if you abort them, it's murder.
When is it human?
That's the key, and we're not going to get into.
Well, yeah, but when is it human, and when do the inalienable human rights kick in?
Yes.
Yeah.
So they asked the Supreme Court to look at this case. This is interesting. Now, this was just October 12th, 2022. Mm-hmm. So for people out on Spotify, we're going to read it. And U.S. Supreme Court rebuffs fetal personhood appeal. So, Jeremy, you want to? I'll read this, or you want to read it? You want to read it for me? You read it.
Yeah. Okay. October 11th, the U.S. Supreme Court on Tuesday declined to decide whether fetuses are entitled to constitutional rights in light of its June ruling overturning the 1973 Roe v. Wade decision that had legalized abortion nationwide, steering clear for now of another front in America's culture wars. The justices turned away an appeal by a Catholic group and two women of a lower court's ruling against their challenge to a 2019 Rhode Island law that codified the right to abortion in line with the Roe precedent. The two women pregnant at the time when the case was filed sued on behalf of their fetuses and later gave birth. The Rhode Island Supreme Court decided that fetuses lacked the proper legal standing to bring the suit.
That's interesting. That's interesting that the Rhode Island Supreme Court decided that fetuses lack the proper legal standing to bring the suit. So I guess you and I could be found that there's no standing to bring a suit.
So does that mean?
Does that mean that a fetus cannot bring any lawsuit, or that in this particular case they have no standing? You understand what I'm saying? The difference? I don't know about that. So I'm going to keep going here. Rhode Island Governor Daniel McKee, a Democrat, welcomed Tuesday's action by the justices. We're satisfied the Supreme Court declined to hear this frivolous appeal. Governor McKee believes that we should be expanding access to reproductive health care for women. Spokesman Matt Schiff said in a statement, adding that the governor is committed to using his veto pen to block any legislation that would take our state backwards. How about is committed to using his veto pen to block any legislation that may limit the fetus's human rights? Yeah. How about that? Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So lawyers representing plaintiffs did not respond. So here's a conservative justice, Samuel Alito, wrote in the June ruling overturning abortion rights, presented that in the decision the court took no position on if and when prenatal life is entitled to any of the rights enjoyed after birth. This is an important. Now I want to make a point here. This is an important thing that's not going to go away. We all talk about, George Floyd has rights. Everybody, transgender has rights. Everybody has rights, right?
Yeah.
And we believe that. You and I, we're Christians. Every human being has the right under God for equal. Everybody now. that fetus is life. Yeah. Now you could argue, we talked about it. If you go back in our archive, we say, listen, we're cool with abortion in the first trimester. About 20, 30 of them spontaneously abort. But we're not open. We're not into or want this open abortion all the way to the end. No, what do you call it? Restraints. I was listening to the argument with Kerry Lake.
Well, when you say that, you're talking about all the way up to the
New Jersey.
nine months.
New Jersey, you could abort a baby 9 months before, 2 days before they're born. I was listening to Kerry Lake and Jody Hobbs. She goes. How she goes about it, a lot of people say, well, no, it's not up to the government. It should be up to the doctor and the patient. So that's their argument. So they're saying there should be no law whatsoever, one way or the other. It should be left up to the patient, the woman, and the doctor. Now, I kind of disagree because
I was going to ask you.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, the male should be getting involved. It's it could be a sperm donor, but the father.
Well, the male has been left out,
right? And also the fetus. Here's my again. Where does the where we talk about all these rights, and women have reproductive rights. I agree. I'm not saying I'm anti-abortion all the way. I think, but and we're going to talk about something else. But let me.
What kind of fetus are we talking about here?
What do you mean, what kind of fetus?
Well, how would you define it?
What do you mean? A fetus is inside a woman's body.
Yeah, well, I mean, it could be a cow fetus.
Oh, no. We're talking about a human being. We're talking about a human being.
But that's the thing. You can't give an exact definition of what type of fetus you're talking about without saying the word human.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Well, that's a good point. I see what you're saying. Yeah, it's a human fetus. That's a good point, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Jeremy, you surprise me sometimes.
I know, sometimes I pull them out of nowhere.
Holy shit. That's brilliant. I mean, that's actually pretty good. Shit, I can't. I think we should shut the show down right now. Holy shit, that's brilliant, Jeremy. I didn't. What did you take some?
I know, man.
Did you take your B complex this morning?
Yeah,
okay,
definitely.
So some Republicans at the state level have pursued what are called fetal personhood laws, like one enacted in Georgia affecting fetus starting at around 6 weeks of pregnancy, that would grant fetuses before birth a variety of legal rights and protections like those of any other person.
Because if you notice their wording, it's person rights,
right?
It's not human rights.
Right.
So they're being very careful on the words they're using because they don't want to get caught in that trap.
No. Well, and here you go. Argument that the case presents the opportunity for the court to meet that inevitable question head on by deciding if fetuses possess due process and equal protection rights conferred by the U.S. Constitution, 14th Amendment. That 14th Amendment is a good amendment. That was a constitutional amendment right after the Civil War. 13th Amendment, 14th Amendment, 13th, 14th, 15th. One, the free to slaves. 14th Amendment, equal rights for every human being, everybody, and then blacks could vote. So now we talk about women's rights. Right. Where is the fetus's right or that human being? Listen, that thing is a human fetus, like you said.
Yeah.
It's a human being. When does it have the right? I don't know the answer to this. Don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here. I mean, I could tell you, I think we better be we should be erring on the side of caution here.
Definitely.
And I think that, after, what's the first try? 4, 8, 12 weeks, it should be done. 12 to 15 weeks.
Yeah.
And you say, well, you have no right, as a society, we have no right to tell a woman it should be up to her and a doctor. Well, you're killing it. You're destroying life. I don't know about destroying life if it should be just left up to, we should, as a society, we should make a decision. If and I understand their argument. They said, why don't we just leave it up to the patient and the doctor, right. Okay, as to where but then it could get abused. We could leave that up to anybody. How about, why don't you just pay what taxes you want to pay, Yeah. I mean, I think it's an interesting argument, and you got two. I'm trying to give two sides of the coin here, It shouldn't be the law. There should be no law at all is one way. And the other way is we should have constraints. What has happened, though, in this country, like New Jersey, it's out of control. I mean, it's not out of control. There's no limit.
What's wrong with a constraint, though, with something like this?
Well, this is a good...
Say a woman, and this is going to be hypothetical, okay?
Right.
Say a woman gets mugged, All right, a pregnant woman gets mugged, and during the mugging, she is punched in the stomach or whatever.
Right.
Her baby dies inside of her.
Right.
Okay. Now they catch the guy. Okay, what is he charged for?
He could be charged for murder. Well, not yeah.
Do
Well,
you see what I mean, though?
Well, I wrote on Twitter. I'm a doctor.
It's very sticky.
Well, no.
Like,
Here's the thing: if I'm dealing with a pregnant woman and she steps on a piece of glass like this, say that patient,
sure.
and I got to give her strong antibiotics that could kill her baby. I'm dealing with not just that one woman. I'm dealing with her and the baby,
Sure.
even though it's not born. And I could guarantee you, I will. If I give her medicine and it kills the baby fetus,
Yeah.
at least I'm going to get civilly sued for
You're
for
screwed.
wrongful
You're
death.
Screwed. Yeah.
Wrongful death.
Wrongful death. But
Right.
death means it had to be alive to begin with.
Right. Now, will it be murder? I don't know. But these are. So from a doctor's standpoint,
Do you see how the hypothetical just doesn't make sense? It just wraps you around in this like vicious circle.
so here, I know here more than a dozen states have enforced near total abortion bans since the Supreme Court. I'm not so keen about that, and that's another whole argument for another day. Yeah. I think that abortions are going to be done one way or the other, and so this is a great thing though. So I think you're going to see more of this going forward, and it's going to go back. So question is, Jeremy, the question of the day is: does the unborn human being have any rights at all? And that's a good question.
Yeah.
Maybe we should have a special rights for the abortion. I mean, and then also too, what about the father? Now I know people say, well, you don't have to be a man to get pregnant or that, whatever. I'm not even going to get into that. All right, so let's go to the whiteboard. Let's get rid of this.
What kind of people are we though? If you really think about it, like that we're having arguments over the life of an unborn child. I mean, like,
well, listen, I think
it's absolutely sickening to begin with.
Well, I look at this. Listen, I think it's a great argument. I think it's a good thing to talk about. A woman who for the life of the woman, but I just want to make a point. None of these people we talk about. Like the guy running for governor in Florida, he's all about women's rights, but nobody talks about the fetus's rights. So this is one. So if you're okay with abortion up to like 9 months, or even Katie Hogg, she's running for Arizona governor, so she wants it up to the patient and the doctor. But what is the right of the fetus? Is there any right?
What does the science say?
Well, we don't know right now. I mean,
that's the real question.
Well, it's changing. It's changing.
When does consciousness kick in? And the fact that
it's a tough question, Jeremy.
The fact that the mother is actually feeding the child inside of her. Okay, even at 1 week, it's feeding, right? So. What exactly is when exactly is this child human? And I think I think it's, and I didn't always think this in my life. I didn't always think this. There was a time when I thought women had the rights to do what they willed with their body, but I never really gave any thought to the child until.
I understand.
You know
well,
what I mean?
let's continue on here because this is dovetails into exactly what you're talking about.
Okay.
So let's go. So now, back in the 20s and 30s, in the turn of the century, don't go up yet with it. There was a thing called eugenics, and that's spelled EUGENICS. And actually, the woman who founded this her name is Margaret, all right, Margaret Sanger, okay, Sanger. Now she is the founder of Planned Parenthood. So let's get this. So now I want to give you perspective on all of this, okay? And abortion and all, So now. Let's go, as they say, to the videotape. So this is an article at a time.
Are you ready?
Yeah, go ahead. So this is an article done in not too long ago. Let's see. We'll get the date here. So this is Time Magazine. What Margaret Sanger really said about eugenics and race. There's an argument or a allegation that she was racist and she wanted to have abortion to knock off, babies. So it was 100 years ago, October 16th, 1916, that Margaret Sanger opened the first birth control clinic in the United States. An advocate for women's reproductive rights who was also a vocal eugenics enthusiast, Margaret Sanger leaves a complicated legacy, the one that conservatives have periodically leveraged into sweeping attacks on the organization she helped founded, Planned Parenthood. So Planned Parenthood, her foundation was to have basically birth control, which then grew into, one of the forms of birth. So abortion is a form of birth control.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no doubt about it.
Well, yeah, it really controls it, doesn't it? I mean, indefinitely.
Right.
Yeah.
So I just want to give you. So here's a couple things that she belonged. Reasons, the most damning of which is that as part of her inhumane life work, she advocated for the extermination of African Americans. It's not for. So this was what the allegation is. It's life is more complicated. I'm not going to get into her life. I just saying that she just understand. You want to find more, you could go and look her up. But I want to talk about what eugenics is and what was going on. So she, at the same time, Hitler in Nazi Germany was doing the same thing, and what they had was the Department of Euthanasia, or they call it mercy killing. And there's movies. I just watched a great movie with it was called Look Who's Talking, and it was in 1941, 42, something in that 43 maybe, and it was a reporter who was sending information to the United States, but they put him in jail. There was a girl with crutches and a bad leg. They were going to exterminate her. If you were old, feeble, they would get rid of you. That was part of the program.
No use to Nazi society.
Right, and it was done by medical professionals, done by doctors. Yeah. And that's why it was not a hard step to go into the Jews.
You're also thinking about Down syndrome kids.
Yeah, they were all, get rid of them all. Right,
all of them like that. Yeah.
Right. So this is, and in the United States, you had this going on too, and you could see, well, if you were born Down syndrome, but then what about hey, let's get rid of the blacks, we get rid of the gypsies, we get rid of it started here.
I think they referred to these people as undesirables. Yeah,
is that what it is?
Yeah, I think so.
Somebody called me that once.
Did they? Huh.
So Sanger's stated mission was to empower women to make their own reproductive choices. She did focus her efforts on minority communities because that was where, due to poverty and limited access to health care, women were especially vulnerable to effects of unplanned pregnancy. All right. So was she a hero or is she bad? And was eugenics, is it, should we have mercy killing? You could go into this whole thing, but everything gets abused.
Oh, what was that,
right?
Dr.
Kevorkian? Right.
Yeah.
But listen to me, Jeremy, about this. Like abortion. When Clinton was president, he said it should be rare, it should be, early, and it should be not advocated.
Monitored.
What happened is now we're doing abortion in your state of New Jersey on demand, 9 months old. We abused it. Same thing with this eugenics, and same thing what Hitler did. They just took it to the next step, and the human nature. You get something, and it maybe sounded great. We're going to get rid of the people who are, enfeebled or old or suffering from cancer. And then, then the next thing is, a kid was born with Down syndrome. Let's put him away, kill, exterminate him. Well, then it's a little bit, somebody has a bad eyesight, and then, maybe they have a personality defects. They're schizophrenic. It keeps going and going and going. And then, you know what the ultimate was? Let's get rid of the Jews. And then that was a medical procedure. So these are slippery. Talk about a slippery slope. Yeah. But this was interesting. She was the woman who founded Planned Parenthood. Okay.
So here's another hypothetical. Okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna go here while you're doing that.
A woman's pregnant. It's right. She's seconds away from.
Get me out of here. Get it.
If she's seconds away from giving birth. Okay. Right. So if she kills the baby then, or aborts the baby then, everything's okay because it's not born yet. 2 seconds after, or say a day after, she's suffering from some extreme type of postpartum disorder, and she drowns the baby in a lake. Then she
Right.
gets arrested
Yeah.
with only just a day apart
Yeah.
from where she could
Yeah.
have killed it, and now
Yes.
she can't. You know,
Yeah.
that's madness.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't even
Well-
make sense.
Well, I guess the what they're saying in that situation, it's the process of birth that gives you human being status. But I could take a woman who's maybe they do a preemie. A woman is involved in a car accident. How about this scenario? A woman's involved in a car accident. She's dead. Hits her head. The baby, they take her out. They do a cesarean, quick cesarean, take the baby out. Now the baby's alive at 7 months.
Right.
Now, do you do that, or you just say, do you ask the father or the family, or say, listen, the baby's still alive, she's brain dead. What do you want us to do?
Right.
I don't even know what the answer to that is. What they do in this state, like what? So would they? So if are you compelled? This is an interesting question, and I don't know the answer to this.
No, it is.
So
It
what?
is.
So now you're in the emergency room. You're a doctor. Woman comes in. She's brain dead. Baby's still alive. Right now, do you deliver the baby, or do you abort it?
I wonder how many protesters give it this much thought.
Right.
I mean, because it's something you can't come up with a decision with lightly, is it?
No,
Isn't it?
no.
Like,
And I think Jeremy too. If you're get an atopic pregnancy, you need an abortion, you'll die.
Yeah.
Or let's just say you made a mistake. You got 9 kids, and the old woman in the shoe, and one more kid is going to kill you.
Yeah.
I understand that. How about this? We say, listen, 12 weeks, you have the right, but how about also we're going to encourage you to adopt that, have that baby adopted. You got it. You see what I'm saying? There's a lot of ways.
If contraception is provided, and you can get condoms from your schools, or you used to be able to. I don't know if they still do that.
Okay, yeah.
But my point is that if there is contraception out there and it is not used, there should be a punishment for that. And it shouldn't be just I'm just going to get rid of the baby. Now let's go to the word birth. Okay, this is interesting because I
want to get back to eugenics, so don't drift off too far.
We're staying where we're at.
Don't go down a rabbit hole.
I'm just talking about the word birth. All right, it's a word we used to explain that we're moving the baby from the mother's belly into this crib over here.
Right.
Okay. So now we're talking about the word birth only being where the baby's located, was prior to. Okay, and then when it's birth, it's just us moving it to this crib over here. It's the 9 month thing just doesn't make any sense.
Well,
when only seconds apart,
yeah, I
it
understand.
could be human or not.
Right, I understand. Well, and I think that what your point making is that it probably turns into a human being a lot, somewhere in that 9 months. Okay,
right.
And it may not be the first or second week, but it's certainly not the 8th or 9th week.
And,
so
and,
I
and
appreciate that. So that's what you're saying.
There's even been studies where they tell you to talk to the baby while it's in the womb.
Right.
And the baby can hear its mother's voice and the father's voice. Yeah, there's a lot more to think about.
Right. I just, like I said, I don't want to get into the,
No, that was it. That's
but
all
I
I
think
wanted to
that you
say.
make a good point. But the thing, my point is that when do they have rights? Even if they're salient, when they get consciousness. I mean, when does a baby? So that's one question. Now,
I gotta say, if it's old enough to hear my voice,
right, it's great. I understand.
Right.
So let's go back with this birth control, Planned Parenthood, and the woman who founded it. She was also the woman who founded the eugenics in this country, which is basically, in my opinion, using birth control and abortion to cur. What's the word I want? To
incur.
No, when you get rid of the population, you say there's too many deer. You want to cur the population.
Oh, curb. I think
or
it is.
But and so listen. This is big information. The American eugenics movement was formed during. Can you go with the iPad, please?
Yeah.
So let's put this up here. This is people on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So this is an article out of First Wave Feminist. This was I don't know which magazine this was.
Early American Eugenics Movement.
So this was December Times. So it might be in English. So the American eugenics movement was founded during the late 19th century and continued as late as the 1940s. The American eugenics movement embraced negative eugenics with the goal, eugenics, with the goal to eliminate undesirable genetic traits in the human race through selective breeding.
Wow.
Now, that you could still bring it. So basically, let's just see, Jeremy, you're pregnant, or you got a girl pregnant, and I look at you and I go, you know what? We're
You don't have the genes I'm looking for.
We're going to abort
Move
that.
on.
We're going to abort the baby, and we're going to cut your vasectomy or cut your balls off.
We're going that far. Okay.
Oh no. This was the whole thing. I mean, this was going on in this country. Hitler was, they took it to the nth degree. During the American eugenics movement, laws were enacted that legalized forced sterilization and prohibited individuals that had mental or physical defects and couples of mixed race from marrying.
Yeah.
Okay? Think about that. So this is the woman who formed Planned Parenthood. They could have changed their ways, but you're talking. This is where things get abused. You see, it's one thing that somebody wants to have an abortion, or they need a abortion because they had a ectopic pregnancy. But now we're talking about manipulating the get rid of undesirables. And like I said, Hitler took this to the nth degree, and had what do you call it? Had killed people. I mean, it was exterminated the Jews, and they were doing before that. They were, look at China. How many forced abortions did China? 400 million, 500 million. That's. So let me keep going here a little bit. We want. In 1883, Francis Galton created the term eugenics, which translates to well-born, from the Greek word eugenus, Latin, so well-born. So if you're not well-born, we're going to get rid of you. Yeah. The purpose of eugenics is to improve the quality of the human race by encouraging the reproduction of humans with desirable traits and encouraging and discouraging those with weaker traits, which, what's good traits, bad traits, Jeremy, right? Right. And however, there was difference in white people. Those with a Northern and Western European heritage were deemed desirable, while those that were from Southern and Eastern Europe, were undesirable. That's, your Jews.
Because I've heard people in movies use the word, "Oh, look at my son," or "Look at my grandson. That's from good stock." That
right.
kind of phrasing, which means proper and choice breeding. A lot of families that were
that's positive.
Had arranged marriages and might have had.
That's what you. So there were two types of eugenics: positive and negative.
Yeah.
So positive eugenics had the goal of improving the race by encouraging those with desirable traits to breed. Right. In contrast, negative eugenics focused on reducing degenerate offspring by preventing those that had undesirable traits from breeding. Got to remember too. This Sanger took it to the next step and said, hey, listen, let's not only are we going to force sterilize you, but now we're going to have this Planned Parenthood and we're going to do birth control. Well, what was the birth control back in those days? Abortion.
Yeah.
Or they wanted abortion. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I just go in here. This is interesting stuff. Can you go back? Let me get at this. Just go back. I want to regroup here. So that's the one. Let me give you one more article about this eugenics, because I think it's pretty interesting, this whole eugenics thing. Did you ever hear about it? Or you probably didn't even know about it, right?
No, not using those words, no.
So Planned Parenthood founder quoted exterminating blacks taken out of context. So just one point. So the controversy with her, people can look this up. Can you go back to the iPad? Yeah. We got you on camera looking at your phone there, Jeremy.
I'm trying to pull up some information. That's why I had an idea.
So he had,
Yeah.
So here, so let me just go here. This is getting in my way. Hang on, get rid of this.
I'll get rid of it. Hold on.
No, I don't think you could do it here. I can't. Oh, yeah, get rid of that. Yeah. I'm talking about here. So here.
Yeah, there's an X mark up in the upper right corner.
This thing is tough when I'm doing live. So let's see here. Let me try this way here. Maybe it'll be better. So what we have, fact check, Planned Parenthood founder Margaret Sanger 1939 quote on exterminating black population was taken out of context. So I guess it's controversial. I'm not going to beat it up. Whether or not she was good or bad, or but you could read the article yourself. But I think that people, you go back to the whiteboard. I think that people have to understand.
I just wanted to check to see if she had children of her own, and she did. She had 3.
Yeah. I mean, you got to remember there was heavy duty. Go back to there was heavy duty prejudice back in those days. I'm trying to put things in perspective. First of all, when we went to whiteboard here, we're talking, because right now abortion is a big thing, because the midterm elections are coming up, and there's people saying that so many people are going to maybe vote because of abortion laws. Well, first of all, it's not that. I don't think so, because people, there's different states that are going to allow abortion, but we need to be looking at the abortion problem, or not problem, but situation from a lot of different perspectives. I think the one thing is we all want to make sure, what if we're wrong? What if the people who want abortion on demand, that these fetuses, that these are human beings, and that we should give them the rights of anybody else?
Here's the thing: if you believe in God and Jesus, right? How do you know you're right and in their eyes? See, that's the scary thing. Is anybody thinking about that? Like, what? You may not pay a cost in this life, but will you?
Yeah.
That's the thing. Yeah. We don't know.
Well, I don't want to get into religion, because I know there's people have a lot of different things about passion.
Yeah, no, I dig it.
But I think that listen, I'm talking about law right now. When does that individual have rights? That's number one. The Supreme Court didn't deal with it. It will go back up there. Eventually, we're going to have, as a society, have to say, whatever level of conscious that is, whatever is that fetus, is that human being, does that entity have any rights whatsoever? We're going to get a robot. We're talking about AI. Yeah. You're going to have does AI going to have rights? If you have a machine that becomes salient,
if we're thinking about this with kids in their mommy's belly,
right,
that AI ain't gonna have any rights.
Right. Well, I'm just telling you,
not for a good long time.
And I also want to make it that Planned Parenthood, that organization, comes from, in my opinion, a dark place.
Right.
And I don't mean a pun, I mean, she looks to me like she was, they wanted to get rid of the blacks. I remember when abortion, in 1970s, when they first came out, I think abortion was, they had the Roe v. Wade, and there was a book, I think it was called Freakonomics, and they basically said, they wanted to have abortion, especially for minorities, so they knocked these people off. There's too many blacks, there's too many, minorities. So my thing is that, eugenics, Planned Parenthood, you really got to wonder where that's coming from. And I think that, abortion is a form of birth control, and we should be very cautious and discuss it, and just don't go, oh, women has the rights and they could do whatever they want to do. Right. I'm all for women's rights. And again, we say over and over, I think what they have in Florida is reasonable. 15 weeks. If you don't know, if you're having sex, even if you have a birth control device in, taking a pill, well, get checked once in a while. Yeah. Do a home test, because 15 weeks, I think we should, here's the thing, what we said, should there be a limit? Katie Hobbs, who's running for the governor in, you can look it up real quick. I think her name is Katie Hodge. And she makes a point. I'm giving her some, Hobbs. And I'm not saying she said it should be up to not the government at all. The Supreme Court said it should be up to the states. But again, she's saying it should be the doctor-patient relationship, which is a joke, because it's going to be an institution. Affordable Health Care Act, as my last show talked about. Yeah. Barack Obamacare killed the patient-doctor relationship. So you're going to have a corporation or the government. So basically the government, you say, oh, doctor-patient. It's going to be the government who's giving the medical care. It's not going to be, an individual doctor. Doctor's going to be, probably a hired gun. So in your decision. So, do we allow?
I think
listen.
but
You're a
I think
pedophile. If you get an individual who's a pedophile, we're gonna allow them to do whatever they want to do. We make limits. We can't.
Right.
You can't just go out and kill somebody. Let's just you go kill my brother. Okay, you kill my brother. Okay. Does that give me the right to shoot you and kill you, and I get away with it?
Yeah.
No, it's not.
No?
No. They'll arrest me.
No, I would have thought, eye for an eye. Yeah.
Well, but that's not the law. I mean, you can't murder anybody just because they murdered somebody else.
Oh, well, that stinks.
Well, Jeremy. Oh, Jeremy. That's called vigilante. You're watching. Are you watching Charles Bronson?
I love Death Wish.
Yeah.
The Death Wish movies are one of my favorites.
Yeah, that was the whole thing. I just read an article about that. Somebody was talking about how bad that it was or whatever.
Yeah.
So let's go move on to that's enough with that. I think that I just trying to point out to people, hey, think about the other side of the. We always think about we don't want to hurt people. No. I'm all for people's rights, like transgender, gay. If you're not hurting anybody, it's great. But if you're, like a transgender man now is going to swim against girls, he's hurting those girls. Here you're killing the potential a human being. I don't know for sure.
A human being that could cure cancer. Or something else.
Right.
You don't know what potential you're snuffing out.
Well,
and the benefits of our world you're snuffing out. That's something to think about.
That's
and
a big thing.
I mean, that's my big argument. I want people to think more about these. Like just the conversation we've had on this episode alone. Okay. I think we've thought so much more than many of these protesters ever have about this topic. And I feel like if you're going to protest, you should be listening to shows like this, finding out what the pros, the cons, and what you're really asking for.
Right. Well, that's why I could understand and discuss it with the that woman who's running for governor. She says, "Well, leave it up to the patient and the doctor. The government should have no involvement." And and that caught me, and I said, and then I'm thinking about it. But the problem is that. We don't allow that in everything. I mean, if the patient is dying but what if it's used as a birth control? And if we leave it up to the patient and doctor, you got a eugenics scenario again, where you could say, well, you know what? It's going to be the doctor may have a bias and say, yeah, let's have an abortion because you're black or whatever, right. Or you're Jewish or you're so you can't. This is too important. I go back and look at what went on in Nazi Germany. You had mercy killings. It was the Department of Euthanasia. Yeah. There's movies out there. There's books written. It was illegal. It was legal. You were committed to die, and it was the craziest thing. Yeah. And if you go look at all the concentration camps and the Jews when they were exterminated, that was a medical procedure. Understand? Yeah. People got to understand how to stay, and it started slow. And in this country here, I think we got to be really careful with this abortion thing. Where we're going, it went too far. We're aborting babies, 2 days before they're born. It says rare. They say it's rare. Yeah. I don't care if it's rare or not. It should not be on the books at all.
What the hell have you been doing for 9 months?
All right, let's move on. So this is a great one here. I want to talk about this. Is let me go to the whiteboard here. Don't put me on. So I looked at this case. This is a kind of a fun case. And so back in the days when there was just bow and arrows, there was a...
they still have them, Mike.
Well, I'm talking about when they just fought. There was no... So this is Henry V, right? Henry V.
Right.
So let's go here. It's let me just pull it up here. Hang on a second. This is a really pretty neat... I can't show this movie here. Hang on a second. Let me just get it here. Give me 1 second. Henry V, right, had an arrow in his. Why can't I get it up here? Let me just see if I can pull. I might not be able to do it. It was interesting. The doctor. This might be just a commercial here. Hang on. The doctor had actually made a special tool for the patient. I can't. Hang on, Jeremy.
What is the real story of January 6th? Many people have asked that question.
Mute it right there. Thanks. Okay. Hey, sorry about that. So here, you could put the volume on a little bit right now. Okay, put the volume on for me.
most extraordinary innovations in royal battlefield surgery began here, at Shrewsbury.
So I don't want to go too far in this to, get copyright stuff, but here's the deal.
Can I put it on the screen?
What's that?
Can I put it up on the screen?
Yeah, put it up on the screen. Go ahead, real quick. Let me just see. So I'm gonna fast forward here, and so what happened was, let me show you here. Hang on a second.
If they play any music in the background, we're not.
Yeah, just mute it right now then for me. So here's a picture of it. So Henry V had an arrow into his face, and they had to remove it. They had to try to remove it. And so the doctor, and this was 15. The doctor actually, here it is right here. He actually, see this. This is his own notes. He actually drew a picture. He made a tool to remove the thing from the guy's face. I want to see if I could show it here. And I thought it was amazing. So this doctor actually, he was like a great surgeon. He went in and he made this little tool. And I got to show you what it looks like. It's pretty. Let me see if I could show you what it looks like here. Where is it? Can you see? I don't want to show too much,
Yeah.
Oh, here it is right here. Hang on. So let me just play this here a little bit. So there it is right there. See the tool?
Oh, yeah.
And he put it in, and at the end, it had a little pair of look at that. See, and he could grab the arrowhead. See? So he put this into the guy's face, turned the screw. See it right there?
Oh, yeah.
Went into the arrowhead, and he pulled it out. Isn't that amazing?
That is amazing.
You turn it like that. This is like, I don't know, 1503 or whatever.
Yeah.
There was no anesthesia, and he pulled it out. Isn't that amazing?
That's a very sophisticated tool for that time.
Now the doctor made it. I mean, not only so I've already had people do it. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
So this was I pulled that up, and I just thought, back in the day, that's some surgeon. You can put me back on. You're talking about an individual who actually. So he got shot in the face.
That's friggin' fascinating. That is.
Right,
yeah.
right. And so the doctor came in. He was a special surgeon. And what he did, too, I didn't tell you, it was interesting. Now, they should have left the arrow in. What they did, I guess somebody took it out. And when you take the arrow out, the metal tip stays in. And the wound starts to close up. So what they did while they were trying to figure out how to get this out is he made these wicks to open up the wound and keep it open. So he wrapped linen around it and used this like rose, it looked like honey. And he would stick it in there, and he would start with a small one, and it would get bigger and bigger and bigger until the wound was open, and made sure it didn't close up because it would start to heal. And then they made the metal, and they had to clean it up and everything. And then they put it in, they pulled it out.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing? And that thing was all the way in the back of his skull. Now, again, thank God it didn't hit anything.
Did he survive it?
Yeah. Well,
I hope that doctor got like a title and stuff like that.
Right. Well, if the doctor screwed up, they would have probably killed him. Executed.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But he was the top surgeon at the time. I think that's brilliant. I mean, I like the idea. That's thinking on your feet.
Right.
You got to think about it. I'm not even so sure. I mean, he had to have mechanical. I mean, this was what year was this? I'm trying to think. This was I'm gonna sneeze. I think it was.
He was probably working with a blacksmith.
Excuse me.
God bless you.
Yeah. Amazing stuff. And I thought that was just a great story to throw out there. I see it there. Yeah. And let me see what else we have. Yeah, you looking? Oh, we're now. So let's plaque it in here.
All right, buddy.
So anyway, what else? That's good. So that was just a little anecdotal. Don't finish it up yet. So Jeremy, let's put up our contact information while we're waiting.
Sure. Let's put up our email. Right.
All right. So let's. I'm Dr. Michael Kachmar, and I'm a board-certified reconstructive foot and ankle surgeon. I'm in New Jersey here. We have multiple practices. We're on multiple hospitals. I do surgery in a hospital. Send us an email. It's drkachmar at iCloud.com. Mm-hmm. Our webpage is JerseyShoreFootandLegCenter.com. JerseyShoreFootandLegCenter.com. You could. We have other shows. We have Scrubbing Up, which is this show. We have Lifeguards Off Duty. We have
Lifeguarding with Dr. Michael.
Yes,
Kachmar.
lifeguarding. We call and then we also have Painless with Dr. Jasper.
With Dr. Gabriel Jasper, and we got it on Saturday mornings. Right now we're doing an every other week sort of thing, but we have Radio Free America with Dr. Barbara Schneider.
Mm-hmm. And just for everybody, we are on YouTube. We are on Facebook. We are on Rumble. We're on Twitter, right? And it's all video podcasts. And then we also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We're going to try to start Spotify videos also. So, Jeremy,
you can find us elsewhere besides those on podcast. I know Audible you can listen to us on, and
Louis Gym and Bar. I think we're there too. You know, we have a direct link.
Oh yeah, they got a monitor set up just for us.
Yeah. So, all right, everyone, listen. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. We'll see you next week, and enjoy yourself. And also, make sure to subscribe and hit the like button. Thank you very much.